The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. It has become an annual tradition. The first game of the season, post-game show. The best way I can describe the 6-5 shootout win over the Montreal Canadiens is Leafs hockey is all the way back. You had a uninspired Leaf team that didn't start on time, who for large portions of that game got outworked and out-hustled and out-skated by an inferior Montreal Canadiens team. But their talent and just overall superstardom is able to get them back into the game and ultimately win the game. Auston Matthews gets a hat trick. The game starts on TJ Brodie falling down, which leads to a breakaway, which leads to the Montreal Canadiens getting on the board pretty early, 3 minutes into the first period. It's back. Leafs hockey's all the way back. That's all. That's what I gotta say.
Yep. Classic Leaf hockey. What else can you say? Just classic Leaf hockey. Just it's like when you watch those TV shows and they have edits of like the devil version of you on one shoulder and the angel version of you on the other shoulder, and that's just honestly the feelings you're going through while watching this team play a hockey game, especially the first game of the season against the Montreal Canadiens, which is always an absolute shit show. I had so many takes for when they were down 5-3. I was ready to come in here and just lay into people, but then it's also on the devil side I want to lay into people. On the angel side, I want to say it's the first game of the year, but at the end of the day, they were down 2 goals with less than 5 minutes left. They pulled their goalie twice. They scored twice with their goalie pulled, and they pull it out and get a W. So really, at the end of the day, we're going to go through it. We're going to talk about the things we liked, the things we didn't like, but Maple Leaf hockey, it's a W.
I thought overall they looked pretty sluggish tonight, and for the most part, I'll attribute that to it being the first game of the season. The one thing that I am fucking tired of is this, like, not getting ready to start games. It's just a trend that has happened pretty much every year. This core has been intact, that is now carried on to the first game of this season, and there's just gonna be, it settles in that you're like, yes, this team, it's the same team in the sense that they're gonna have nights. Like, if you look into the crystal ball, they're gonna have nights this season where they just don't show up and they look like shit. But like, against a bad team like the Montreal Canadiens, who, like, I'm calling them a bad team because on paper they're not the most talented hockey team, but that team always gets up to play the Leafs. They played hard tonight. They skated their ass off. They won a lot of puck battles. But against a team that is inferior to them from like an overall talent perspective, their talent is just able to lift them up and above and help them get the W.
I mean, it's just, again, classic Leaf hockey when your best players are getting hat tricks and getting 3 assists and multiple points. That's a recipe for success for this team. I thought the whole game they were just like, they weren't crisp at all. They couldn't make a pass. They couldn't take a pass. They were losing battles. But at the end of the day, one team has more game breakers, more talent than the other. And when the Leafs game breakers and talent shows up and actually produces, regardless of how many battles they won, how many battles they lost, they're paid to score goals and be a difference maker in games. And when your highest paid player, who I've been criticizing that he needs to play like the highest paid player in the league, plays like the highest paid player in the league, they're going to win a lot of games if those guys are doing what they did tonight, regardless of how ugly some of the defensive crap was, some of the giveaways, some of the bad passes, non-passes. your best guys show up and score, you're going to win.
Let's go through this a little bit. A lot of people on Twitter tonight, myself included, sitting watching the game with you, were taking aim at Ilya Samsonov. I did not think he was very good. You were sticking up for him and saying, you know, what's he supposed to do when TJ Brodie falls down minutes into the game? What's he supposed to do when Timothy Liljegren, just like one of the biggest defensive zone cough-ups you will ever see, and it's in the back of the net. But I voiced to you last week that I was concerned about Samsonov because I thought he did not look very good at all in the preseason, and it kind of carried over into the night. Tonight rather. You're seeing some quotes from him on Twitter, like you got Terry Koshan here tweeting Ilya Samsonov, not a fun game for goalies, especially Toronto goalies. He said earlier that he just wants to forget this game altogether. So,
I mean, yeah,
put it in the rear view and let's just try and get back to the form you were in last year.
It's easy to point at the number of goals that went in against the number of shots he faced. But as someone, if anyone who's new to this channel, you will learn that I have a tendency to stick up for the netminder. It's the first game of the year. A lot of good things or bad, a lot of bad things that happen in the first game of the year can get chalked up to the first game of the year. But I'm sorry, when you're a goalie and you're not fully kind of in your zone yet, and your defenseman trips and gives up a free breakaway to start the season, like that's not fun. And then TJ Brodie deflects the puck into his own net, which is a tough break, but like there's no way that guy can stop that puck. Like it's just redirected. He's in position, but how is he supposed to make that save? And then Timothy Liljegren just decides he wants to just hand the puck over in his own zone and give up a good opportunity. So it's I think he's being like, I don't think he should be too hard on himself. I'm kind of on people who are being too hard on him right now. It's Toronto, Montreal, first game of the season. This is what happens when these two teams play each other for the first game of every season. Like it's going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty. The goaltending's not going to be great. But at the end of the day, like I'm going to stand up for him and say, you can't be handing away breakaways right off the bat. Like what a good way to put your goalie in a good position to start the season when your defenseman just trips and gives up a free breakaway, when your other defenseman just hands the puck over on a silver platter. Here you go. And give up an open opportunity. When a puck gets deflected, what are you supposed to do?
It was a rough night for the defense in general. Like we talked about the two turnovers from Brodie and Liljegren. I thought Morgan Rielly was okay tonight. He got caught out of position a couple of times, but he was okay. Jake McCabe, he's slow. Like he's just.
I thought he laid a couple. Yeah, I thought he lays the body.
He lays the body. That's an important thing important role that he plays. Giordano, like he's clearly, Mark Giordano's clearly playing. What was Mark Giordano's ice time tonight? 1550. So he's clearly playing more sheltered minutes. Out of all defensemen, TJ Brodie played 18 minutes. Morgan Rielly played 23 minutes.
24 minutes, basically.
Yeah, 24 minutes, basically. Where's Klingberg? 24 minutes for John Klingberg. Klingberg is really, he's like almost like a rover type player. He kind of plays like a hybrid of forward and defense.
I mean, one of the biggest criticisms of this team last season was lack of production from the defensive players. And the guy has 2 points already to start the season. So,
and like right away, like he's like right away, like there was talk in camp and we saw it in the preseason that like Klingberg was going to get some looks on the power play, but like right away out of the gate tonight, they're like, Morgan, you're fired, basically.
Good start. Like, you want more offense out of your defense? The guy already has 2 points to start the season. So, I mean, and yeah, we can point the defense all you want, but also like the forwards defensively are also like
Auston Matthews.
Like people just giving the puck away, losing battles in their own zone. Like
Auston Matthews obviously had a hat trick, which is what you want from a guy from your best player. I thought William Nylander was really good tonight. And outside of that, I thought a lot of the other forwards were super sluggish and super like just couldn't take a pass, couldn't make a pass, pucks getting caught in guys' skates. Max Domi on the one goal just doesn't get the puck out, and it ends up in the back of the net. Just a lot of sluggish first game of the year stuff tonight.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, wouldn't have been a lot. Like, what? Let's be honest here. I don't want to sound like a piece of crap saying this, but like with this pod, we were all night. It's like we were lining up to come on here and really just take a dump all over them.
Well, I think you can. I think you can still, like I told you, like I'm not gonna sit here and like heap a ton of praise on these guys. I thought it was once again a night where you weren't ready to play at the drop of the puck, and for a large portion of a 60-minute hockey game, well, I guess 65-minute hockey game, you got outworked. They were nowhere in the first period. They were nowhere for the first half of the second period. They finally came to life and scored a bunch of goals in the back half of the second period. I'm getting my tongue all tied up here. They came alive in the second part of the second period, scored a bunch of goals, and then to start the third, they went to sleep again, let Montreal back in the game, and then they finally woke up, and that's when Matthews got his second and third.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, that all just seems like a mute point, though. Like, it's like it's the first game of the year. They're playing the Habs. We know it's a shit show game because they're playing the Habs. The Habs always show up to play them, no matter how crap they are. And at the end of the day, they showed resiliency and won the hockey game. So it's like we can sit here all we want and cry about this and cry about that, but at the end of the day, we've criticized this team a lot for not showing resilience, not showing heart, and you know what? They might have played like shit. They might have lost a lot of battles. Their goalie might not have been the best, but at the end of the day, they were down 2 goals with 5 minutes left, and they fought back and ended up winning the hockey game.
Yeah,
so it's
I'm not sitting here criticizing.
I know. I wish I could.
I'm pissed. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm pissed off about the slow start. Like, I'm so fucking tired of seeing that. But you're right. Outside of that, they battled back. The sign of a good team is when you win games that you don't play well in.
Yeah, I just don't want to die on this hill.
No, we're
too
not dying
soon.
on the hill. We're not dying on the hill. I think my main takeaways, if you were going to say, Rob, coming out of game 1 of the season, what are some things that you want to keep an eye on going forward? I'm not even going to use the word, what are you concerned about? Because I think it's too early to say concerned. Things I want to keep an eye on. First and foremost, Ilya Samsonov. I'd like to see him settle in a little more. That's number 1. Number 2, the play in the defensive zone. It's not just the defensemen, that's the forwards in the defensive zone. I thought it was sloppy tonight. And I think when you play a team on Saturday in Minnesota, they're going to be able to capitalize, like a big physical team like Minnesota. They're going to be able to capitalize on that a little more. And number 3, the slow starts. I'm a broken record. We're like 12 minutes into this thing, and I've complained about the slow starts like 4 fucking times.
Yeah, but they did. Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. I don't have it. I just guess just right now sitting here at 10:35 Eastern time after that hockey game, I just don't have it in me to get pissed off at this hockey team.
No, I'm not.
And and that's hilarious coming from like everyone listening or watching has no idea, but you were sitting with me the entire game, and I was throwing shots at everybody. I was trolling Matthews. I was trolling Marner, which, by the way, that's a name we have not mentioned so far. Which, if we're gonna get on somebody,
he didn't have his best game.
He looks not very good.
Yeah, he had
at all.
Yeah, he didn't have his best game tonight.
I thought
Matthews was great. Nylander was great.
Matthews, you get 3 goals. Like I've been trolling him, saying he's the highest paid player in the league. He had 1 goal. I looked at you in the middle of the game. I said he's the highest paid player in the league. You should get 2. You got 2. I looked at you. I said he's the highest paid player in the league. You should get 3. The fucking guy got 3.
Yeah.
So what the fuck am I gonna say? Like the guy is.
He told you where to go.
Yeah. If the guy's potting 3, like that, he's. I mean, what can he really complain about? But I mean, there were some guys tonight who did like. There were some forwards also like. I thought Matthew Nyes didn't look great. I thought Mitten looked overwhelmed.
Nyes had a good chance in overtime. Nyes is gonna. I'm not worried about Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes is a guy who, as he plays more pro level games, he's just gonna get better and better. Minton, I think, it was a bit of coming down back to earth because tonight was real hockey. It wasn't preseason hockey. I don't think Fraser Minton was bad, but I just think that like he didn't stand out as much as he did in the preseason. Who else? Max Domi. Like I thought, Max Domi.
I thought he was terrible.
Yeah, I don't know what to really think about Max Domi. I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he looked a little lost out there.
He was terrible tonight.
He was nowhere in the offensive zone. Really, he didn't really make an impact because we talked about Max Domi a lot in the preseason and about what can Max Domi do to stand out. And you and I said that we were trying to downplay anyone who was overhyping his offensive ability and was basically saying, this is what Max Domi needs to be impactful on this team. And what that was to just be a water bug, a shit disturber, a rat. And I didn't really see that tonight. I didn't see, no. I did not think he was effective in the offensive zone at all.
I just thought he caused a goal.
Yeah, and he
turned the puck over.
That's what I mean. He had a brutal turnover in the defensive zone, like brutal turnover.
Yeah, he really did nothing.
He needs to figure out what his role is and how to be most effective.
Yeah,
I don't see that line staying together. I just don't think Tavares with his speed or lack thereof times two guys who aren't really defensive gurus in Nylander and Domi. I just don't see that line staying together for very long.
All right. What do you think about trying to think of everything? Ryan Reaves
and Arbor Jackeye. That was the classic, like, he's like, I'm going to fight this guy.
But I'm not going to square up.
I know I'm not going to square up. I know who I'm fighting, and I'm just going to grab him, and I'm just going to swing, and I'm just going to bull rush him. Because
I'm more athletic on a pair of skates than he is, and I'm going to try and take advantage of that.
That was... If he was a UFC fighter and you were in a training camp and you're coming up with a game plan for your opponent, Arbor Jackeye and his camp were like,
I'm not squaring
If you get a chance to get on top of him and you're right, bull rush him, then that's what you do.
Tough kid, though. Yeah. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He did not hesitate. He dropped the gloves first, but I think the fact that he kind of used his athleticism to his advantage and kind of bull rushed him a bit was a big deal. But
Reaves,
Reaves
that kind of got the building. Oh, that's another thing. Scotiabank Arena continues to be the worst venue in pro sports. Like, they're introducing the players. You can hear a goddamn pin drop in there. It's like, what are we doing? It's so... Well, I know what we're doing. I'm not going to criticize the fans in there because most of the people in there aren't real fans. It's the suits in there with comp tickets or tickets that their company bought.
The player intros
it was embarrassing.
It was fucking terrible.
You watch the opening ceremony, and I get it. Well, it's Vegas. They do it up, and it's Vegas. You watch the electricity in T-Mobile Arena last night when the Vegas Golden Knights are doing their player intros and how electric that place is.
It is pretty exciting after you win a cup.
But still, even if they hadn't won a cup, that's how it would have been. We're sitting there watching it. I'm like, you can't hear anything. Like, you can't hear, like, they're introducing the players and people are just sitting there going, and same garbage
it was a pin drop.
Same garbage with the second and third period start and the whole lower bowl is empty. Like, God, that atmosphere sucks.
Not going to change though. But no, it is brutal. Noah Gregor,
I like him. He got the goal to get them back into the game. We should talk about the Sheldon Keefe challenge too. Sheldon Keefe, he was the one who sort of
turned around the game.
Yeah, he turned momentum tonight. Like if he doesn't challenge that and they count that goal, it's 3-0, and I don't see them coming back from that.
And then their PTO legend making $775 comes out and snipes it. And,
yeah, he does.
And you know what? Like, some of these guys, they're very good hockey players, but they don't have great wheels. Like, Tyler Bertuzzi doesn't have great wheels. Max Domi doesn't have like super great wheels. Like, and this guy, I know he's a fourth liner, but I think it's very important, especially when he's sharing a line with Ryan Reaves, that he has that ability to really put on the Jets, because the guy can really skate. I'm not saying he's the second coming of anything, but the fact that it's game one and he's already got a goal on the board, he already contributed. You can see how fast he is. Like, that's a big deal. They need that in their mix. A guy who can really kind of get in on the forecheck, not because he's tough or he's ready to get in there. It's just because he's just that damn fast.
Here's a question for you. Do you think it's their overall team speed? Or do you think like they're really, really trying to play this possession style of game? So when they get the puck, like I notice this with Matthews all the time. Like I don't think Auston Matthews is a slow skater. But when he gets the puck on his stick, he really tries to slow the game down and he kind of stops moving his feet and that slows everybody down. And I just think that maybe the style of play that they're trying to employ, which is this heavy puck possession style, contributes to them not like Montreal was way faster than them tonight. But that's because Montreal knew that they were the inferior team, kind of threw caution to the wind and just went out there and was like, we're going to hit everything and win battles and chase pucks and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of guys in the Leafs who like can't skate, but I mean, just like flat out shoot the gun, skate from goal line to goal line. Like Auston Matthews is not elite. Like, you know, like Noah Gregor, you could drop the flag, have him race from goal line to goal line. He's
Marner?
beaten a lot of dudes.
What about Marner?
Marner's elite because he can skate with the puck. Like that's different. I mean, everyone who played hockey growing up, you always heard the term of like, you can skate fast without the puck, but once you put the puck in your hands, you really slow down. And he's someone who can move fast with the puck. But I mean, I just like guys who can just kind of like get the wheels going. I think he's a guy, especially playing on a line with Reaves, who that's a big deal to have a guy on that line with wheels.
Yeah, William Nylander. Should talk about him too. I thought he was fantastic from the word go tonight. He's so elite at just like making something happen every single time the puck is on his stick.
There's nobody better at taking the puck from their own end and just turning a corner and getting through the neutral zone and getting into the O zone better than him. He's just. And I like how they've set him up in that one-timer position on the power play.
What did you think of Guy Boucher's power play?
I mean, I just like how they have him in the one-timer position because he's the only guy on the team who can really take a one-timer. Auston Matthews is, like, what do you say? He's the second fastest to 300 other than Ovechkin, and it's amazing how he does that. Ovi is a guy who just sets up with that one-timer and just has made a career out of that. When Steven Stamkos was at his peak, he'd set up for the one-timer, made a career out of that. This guy doesn't do that. Auston Matthews doesn't have a great one-timer. He does it by his wrist shot and by just kind of poking in pucks. So
Matthews is a wrist shot guy.
Having Marner and Matthews sometimes they didn't even have them on their offsides. I've gone through this a million times. So they're not even set up for a one-timer.
Yeah.
But when they were set up for a one-timer, none of them could take a fucking one-timer. So it's like, well, let's put the guy who could take a one-timer on the team in the one-time position, put Matthews down low, because when that guy gets a puck that's open in front of the net, he's going to put it in. Like I think that's a great idea. And John Klingberg.
Yeah, John Klingberg.
I love Morgan Rielly. I love him. And he's had a couple amazing seasons, but his offensive production has kind of tailed off. So I think it's worth taking a look at a guy who's known for offensive production at the defensive position, regardless of how you feel about his defensive play. If he's an offensive defenseman, put him in an opportunity to create offense.
Yeah.
He's already got 2 points. Good start.
Yeah, Guy Boucher looks like he's a Bond villain.
Yeah, I mean their power play capitalized twice tonight.
Yeah,
so good start for the PP.
Yeah.
And plus, like they scored on 4 power plays. Can you check that they scored 2 power play goals? I don't sound like a fucking idiot here.
Yep, we got it right up here. We got William Nylander power play, Matthews power play.
And then the 2 goals they scored at the end of the game were basically man advantages as well. So that means they scored 4 times with more players on the ice than the other team.
Yep.
That's a good start.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's a good start for Ernst Stavro Blofeld behind the.
Yeah. So, good job. Good job all around.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, we're going to take the level-headed approach, and you
sound like an idiot if you're not taking the level-headed approach right now. That's my opinion.
I know, but like, I'm just like, can we just start a game on time? Like, can we just like?
No, they can't.
You think like TJ Brodie? I want to touch on him because you've been somebody who's been a naysayer of TJ Brodie's for a long time, and you're like, I don't understand what everybody loves about this guy. I don't see it. He had a rough game tonight, and they pan up to Tree Living, and Tree Living's like, I already let this guy walk once, and now I got to sit here and watch this again.
Yeah, he's just getting older, and he's not an awful defenseman, but I just don't. I feel like people were speaking of him as like a guy you need to have on the ice in the most important moments of the game. And it's like he's really not that good.
His play tailed off last year in the playoffs.
He's a second pair defenseman at best.
Yeah, his play tailed off last year in the playoffs, and it kind of looked like that was the case again tonight. He did not look great tonight.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, they got a tough one coming up on Saturday, man. Like Minnesota is that's a big Western Conference team. That's a team that's like they're not the Montreal Canadiens. They're a team that is going to be around the playoff conversation in the West, and that's a tough opponent coming in here next.
I mean, one thing I will say about the Leafs is I feel like a lot of these guys, their confidence is a make or break when it comes to offensive production. And regardless of how this first game went, it's huge for Auston Matthews to get out to 3 goals.
Yeah,
it's huge for Tavares to get 3 points.
Yes.
It's huge for Nylander to get his goal. It's huge for Klingberg to get his 2 assists. Yeah. Morgan Riley gets an assist.
And Keefe has Klingberg out there what we say, he's like 24 minutes tonight.
Let the team in ice time.
Yeah,
and that's because of the power plays. But
yeah, like he's
which shows you how much he actually played Riley 5-on-5 and the fact that he wasn't on the PPs for the majority of the time, and he's only less than a minute short in ice time.
Yeah, so
Klingberg.
I agree. I think you're so right with that.
That's huge for Tavares to get 3 apples. Like you're watching that game, you're like, John Tavares, where is he? But there he is again.
Yep.
All the people who criticize us for criticizing John Tavares, they have a point because the guy walked away with 3 apples tonight. He's already off to a great start to this season.
Yeah, you're right. That is the John Tavares in a nutshell. You watch him and you're like, oh, he's having a really hard time keeping up out there. He doesn't look like he's getting much done in the offensive zone. He's elite below the hash marks, but he hasn't really been there a whole lot tonight. You're right. Check the game sheet, 3 assists.
Yeah. So all these guys who just need their points, all got their points tonight, and it's a good start offensively in terms of confidence.
100%. 100%. That's a great way to end off this episode.
Positive, baby.
Positive.
I was, oh my God. If they blew that, because I was calling for the Leafs OT loss
2 weeks ago.
For weeks. Even when they were down 5-3, I said they're going to tie this game. They're going to go to overtime, and they're going to lose. And they didn't. Matthew Nyes took a penalty in overtime. Samsonov got through it. It was almost a full 2 minutes of 4-on-3. Yep. Makes 3 stops in the shootout, and I mean, I hate shootouts too.
Oh yeah,
I'm done with shootouts. It is kind of
man. It's okay because they won, but yeah, it's the overtime. Like we're sitting on the edge of our seats watching that overtime.
Takes the passion out of me.
Yeah.
Just sucks the passion out of me. It's like if say they lost that game in a shootout, I think we're less happy. I think we are going to be on them more if they did end up losing in a shootout. But at that point, it's just a fucking crapshoot, man. It's just luck of the draw.
Roll of the dice, 100%.
So, want to know, baby?
Want to know? I don't want to get out of here until we have a little snicker at Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins losing their opening game of the season to the Chicago Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. You and I are big Sid guys, but I'm sorry, I am not rooting for the Pittsburgh Penguins at all this year. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching Peter Mrazek and the Chicago Blackhawks defeat Kyle Dubas' Pittsburgh Penguins last night.
Yeah, I love Sid. I even love Gino. Love that organization, but now it's tainted.
Yeah,
it's tainted for me because I can't stand that little goofball in the press box with his business degree up there saying people's names, memorizing the media's names instead of doing what's necessary to make his hockey team better.
All right, buddy. We're going to get out of here. We will be back next Tuesday. After that, the Leafs will have played the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks. If you look ahead at their schedule, they got the Wild, the Blackhawks, the Panthers, and the Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, there's no freebies in this league. We saw it tonight.
Yep. It's not easy out of the gate.
Yeah. There's no freebies.
So if you want to hear us next Tuesday, when we're back after the Wild and Blackhawks games, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. Leave a little comment and review if you're listening to the audio version. Every little bit helps. We very much appreciate all the comments, all the reviews. Like we always say, even if you want to rip us, and then after you leave a comment or review, you're going to
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
That was not your smoothest one.
See, I kind of did that on purpose to like switch it up.
We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys in a week.